In last week's video, we discussed how slavery, economics, and sectionalism contributed to the Civil War. Those three things, combined with the election of 1860, which was the final straw for the South in terms of secession, combined to start the Civil War. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how and why the election of 1860 was the final straw and ultimately led to secession and then the start of the Civil War. So, how did the election lead to secession and Civil War? First of all, there were four candidates in this election. Abraham Lincoln, the Republican candidate. There were two Democratic candidates in this election, as the Democrats did not agree over the issue of slavery, and thus held two conventions actually for the election of 1860. Stephen Douglas and John C. Breckinridge were the two nominations there, each at their convention that they happened to be nominated at. And then also John Bell was nominated as the Constitutional Union Party candidate. And basically that was a party that adhered to the Constitution rather than any political ideology. And it was basically, it existed just for that election, and it honestly wasn't much of a party even by the time the election came about. So the results. Abraham Lincoln won, of course. And he only won 40% of the popular vote, mainly because the Democrats were split, and then the Constitutional Union Party, all of that party really wanted to do was make a dent in the Electoral College, so someone didn't get a majority. Abraham Lincoln did get a majority of those electoral votes. He got 180 of the 303 that were available for that election. So that means the other three got 123 combined. Lincoln won all of the northern states except New Jersey. And he did not win any Confederate states at all, except 1% of the vote in Virginia. So again, he did not win Virginia. He got 1% of the vote in Virginia. This was the final straw for a lot of Southerners for many reasons, chief among them. We'll get to that in a little bit. But anyway, secession happened because of his win. And why did that happen? Well, there are many reasons for this. First were Lincoln's beliefs on slavery. Now, it's important to mention that he was under the Republican Party banner in this election, and that was a party that was formed basically to be anti-slavery. That was the goal of the party when it was founded in the beginning of the 1850s. So, because the Republican Party was anti-slavery, at the time you would think, like the Southerners did, that Abraham Lincoln himself was abolitionist. However, he was not abolitionist. He didn't want slavery to expand beyond its current borders, but he didn't necessarily want to see it, or to phrase it differently, he did not necessarily want to completely abolish it. He was okay with it where it was. He was okay with slavery where it was. He would do whatever it took to basically keep the Union together, whether that meant keep slavery expanded a little bit or do nothing about the issue of slavery at all. That was his ultimate goal at the outset of the war. And because of the fact that Abraham Lincoln was elected by the anti-slavery Republican Party, his beliefs were a threat to Southern livelihood for reasons we've discussed in the past, chief among them slavery and agriculture being a huge part of Southern life in the soon-to-be Confederate States. So, Southerners wanted to uphold slavery. And the election of Abraham Lincoln was seen as a threat to that because of the perceived anti-slavery views that Abraham Lincoln had, because he had that Republican Party label. Now, it's important to note that some Southerners would do anything it took to keep slavery in place because it was so important to the economy. And this actually also included trying to establish a government in Nicaragua in the 1850s. This was actually successful for a year. So that right there shows you how important slavery was to some Southerners. They were willing to overthrow the government of another country in order to maintain slavery. So other factors besides the importance of slavery to the economy, which we've discussed in a previous video, included the idea that the Union was a compact that could be broken if any one of the states decided that they did not like how they were being treated by other states or the federal government. So again, that compact could be broken. And then the North was also reluctant to enforce the Fugitive Slave Act that was passed back in 1850, discussed in a previous video. Basically, what the Fugitive Slave Act tried to do was require people to round up escaped slaves. And of course, the Northerners, for the most part, did not necessarily want to do that and help out the South. And the fact that the North was not complying with this rightfully or wrongfully, you can make your decision on that, angered the South and ultimately led to secession. So again, these last couple videos have been about what led to the Civil War and the causes for the Civil War. This is not a complete list of them, but next week we're going to talk about perspectives of the Civil War, not necessarily taught in schools. For example, the Native American perspective. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe as well, and we will see you here next week for more videos. Thank you.